Oh, it's good to be back. I'm returned from a foreign nation and getting back into the swing of FAU things. We welcome you in to the Inside Florida Atlantic podcast, the Florida Atlantic Voice, presented by our great friends at Robes Law Group, personal injury lawyers, ROBES, robeslawgroup.com. I am Ken LaVicka, the play-by-play voice of FAU. How's everybody doing? It's been a little bit. I have, in case you don't follow me on social media, whether that's Twitter at KLV says or Instagram at Ken LaVicka. Spent from June 4th to what was it? June 15th. Yeah, got back to 15th in Japan. Went with the family, and it was awesome. The girls, my two daughters, absolutely enjoyed it. My oldest turned 9 while we were on the trip, but we did Disneyland Tokyo, which was phenomenal. Ended up spending 3 days in Tokyo, exploring temples. Went to Hello Kitty World. That was a big time girl dad moment for me, and I usually can't stand the term girl dad. I don't think you need to quantify who your kids are, whether it's a girl or a boy. You should be there for them in whatever capacity is needed, but I will say there is a much lower percent chance if I had a boy that Hello Kitty World in Japan would have been on the docket. And so it was me and Hello Kitty and Cinema Roll and Hey Melody and all of your favorite Hello Kitty friends for like 4 hours. Me and my daughters and the Hello Kitty network of characters. And then went to Osaka. After that, visited the Nara Temple, the Great Buddhist Hall, and ended up going to Universal Osaka, which was awesome. And it was a great trip. The food was fantastic. The people were absolutely. I mean, when you're talking about ultimate humanity and ultimate treatment of people, the Japanese are certainly world class in every sense. Just such a welcoming country, so easy to get around outside of Tokyo and Osaka traffic. I mean, it's an absolute mess, but train systems and the bullet train and we also went to Mount Fuji, which was, I mean, if you ever have a chance. And me, I'm someone who appreciates geographical features. Like if I'm vacationing, I want to see mountains. I have a thing for mountains, canyons and valleys and rivers, major bodies of water, that whole thing. I'm not necessarily a crazy nature person, but when I am in an environment that is vastly different from the one that I exist in here in South Florida, I really embrace it. Mount Fuji is the perfect mountain. It is symmetrically perfect. It obviously is a spiritual basis for any belief in Japan. It is beautiful. It is gorgeous. The surrounding area is immaculate, and it is. There's so much tradition, and that was a delight to the senses, I think, is the best way to put it. Ultimately, I think I'll look back and say, boy, that was life changing. That is something I'm glad that during my existence I saw was the grandeur and the splendor of Mount Fuji. So I highly recommend, if you've never been to Japan, to do so. I already would love to go back and then go to Kyoto, go see Hiroshima, pay respects there, head to the northern part of Japan, it was a phenomenal trip. I'm really glad to be back. I will say, even though it is summer in Japan and it gets hot, significantly more comfortable than what we're going through right now in our typical South Florida summer. It's funny, the Japanese, they complain about the humidity and it's so hot. I mean, the humidity there in the summer, what the Japanese consider to be oppressive humidity is like our January. It was downright refreshing, to be quite honest. But what a trip, what an experience. And again, before I perish from this plane of existence, I'd like to go back and revisit Japan, because it was that profoundly effective and feeling inducing for sure. Also, before we really dig into the meat of this, congratulations to FAU Basketball superfan and Boca Raton resident Aleksander Sasha Barkov, the captain of the Florida Panthers, the Cats back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. If you're watching this on YouTube, I am sporting my 2024 Panthers Stanley Cup championship shirt. Haven't been able to get to Pantherland yet at Amerant Bank Arena to get the 2025 gear. Going to try and get to the parade on Sunday in Fort Lauderdale. May order the championship gear online. That doesn't get shipped until late July, so I want to have it ready for the parade. But Sasha Barkov is truly now, and I hate the Mount Rushmore discussion. I work for ESPN. I spend countless hours pontificating on national radio under that ESPN moniker. And boy, I can't tell you how much that network loves Mount Rushmore discussions. I can't stand it. I despise Mount Rushmore discussions. But for the sake of the point I'm trying to make, Aleksander Barkov is now, in my opinion, on the Mount Rushmore of South Florida athletes all time. You've got Dan Marino, you've got Dwayne Wade, you probably, because Barkov is absolutely in that discussion now, he'd be your third, and then the fourth could be any collection of athletes. It could be a Greasy, or it could be a, man, I don't know if you're really, I guess a Jeff Conine you could put on there. I don't know. But Aleksander Barkov is certainly, unquestionably now on that Mount Rushmore of South Florida athletes. Okay. And so now you've got a man who has gone to FAU basketball games each of the last 2 seasons. He's got FAU gear. He wears it proudly. There's ring video, if you haven't seen it yet, on social media from one of his neighbors in Boca of a clearly intoxicated, and he's still got it together because he's Sasha Barkov and he's unflappable. But he shows up to his neighbor's house at 4 a.m. with the Stanley Cup, and he's ringing on the doorbell, and he says, "You wanted this," when he's being questioned through the ring camera. He promised he was going to bring the Stanley Cup. I don't think his neighbors thought it would be 4 a.m., but there he was at 4 a.m. with the Stanley Cup, ready to come in the door and show it to him. Now, he did the same thing last year as well to some of his neighbors. There are worse people to be showing up at your door and absolutely jamming at your doorbell at 4 a.m. than Sasha Barkov. But I appreciate the fact when we can elevate someone who lives in Boca. He has been a Boca resident for quite some time. In fact, the majority of his Panthers career. And then what the Panthers represent, and they've been very good to the FAU hockey organization. They've been very good to Florida Atlantic as a whole, and they've been extremely supportive. And we always love champions, and I just love sort of the parallels between the Panthers and FAU. I mean, think about it. FAU basketball was completely irrelevant in the college hoops landscape for decades, much like the Florida Panthers after that initial 1996 Stanley Cup final run and then a couple of playoff appearances after that. Pavel Bure, Roberto Luongo, the early part of his career. Once those faded, then it was just dark days. I remember when I first moved down to South Florida, 2007, you could show your driver's license and get tickets to Panthers games, maybe half full arenas a majority of the time. They were the most irrelevant franchise in North American professional sports. But then FAU bursts onto the map with a Final Four run, captures the hearts of American sports fans, and now they are firmly embedded into the college basketball psyche. At least the foundation of college basketball, a known quantity. And now there's the Florida Panthers, who have one of the best teams, in my opinion, of all time this 2025 season, especially in this playoff run, which was even more dominant than a season ago. And Sasha Barkov is the leader of that entire thing. Quiet leadership, stout leadership. He's so consistent. He's so fair. There is no hierarchy with the Panthers. Yes, Sasha Barkov has the C on his chest, but everybody has a say. Everybody is fair game for chirping in that locker room. And I think FAU fans should feel very proud that a fellow FAU fan and Sasha Barkov, and again, has attended multiple FAU basketball games the last couple of seasons, gear and all, stayed all 40 minutes, hasn't left early, has sat courtside and allowed anybody to approach him, take photos, shake his hand, and he's done it in a very Sasha Barkov, Aleksander Barkov, unassuming way. He is the most unassuming sports legend that I think I've ever seen, ever been around. So soft-spoken, but he's just so massive, and you can tell that it's somebody important, someone of great grandeur when you're around him, when you're in his orbit. And so I think that FAU fans, though, should be very proud that one of their own is a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion and a multiple-time Selke Trophy winner as well. Won it again this year. So congratulations to Sasha Barkov, the Florida Panthers. And so this is the meat of what I wanted to discuss in this edition of the Florida Atlantic Voice. Two key components of discussion here. And this has been bubbling and simmering for quite some time with me. One revolves around the college football playoff and FAU's place in the entire discussion. And group of five, for that matter. Group of six, for that matter, I think is now the more accurate way to put it. And then the College Football Hall of Fame in relation to the father of FAU football, Howard Schnellenberger. First, though, the college football playoff. Because we have spent a good portion of the last month and a half not really discussing college football previews and forecasts and star power and up-and-comers and potential Heisman Trophy candidates because, well, that's damn near impossible in this era of college football at this juncture of a calendar year because of the transfer portal, because there's so much movement. And it is now systematically impossible to try to forecast anything with any team because very few players return to the system that they were in previously. They're learning new offenses or defenses. They're with a new roster or in a new conference with a bunch of fellow roster mates that are brand new or fellow teams in a conference that have completely reshuffled their roster, and especially in the group of 6 level, okay? Those conversations, which I think are fun and I think help grow the sport, have been replaced by conversations about an element that is doing nothing to grow the sport, in my opinion, and that's what's the next college football playoff format going to be? I mean, come on. It's a never-ending conversation, but here is the most bang your head against the wall, frustrating thing about it that makes you just want to tune out. We know anybody with a functioning frontal cortex knows that there are going to be 2 conferences. Count them, 2 conferences. 2 Power 4 conferences that are eventually going to make the ultimate decision about what the expanded playoff format that goes into effect next year, 16 teams in all likelihood, is going to be. And they are going to have the entire say about which teams from which conference get in automatically, or how many teams from which conference get in automatically, and that's the SEC and the Big Ten. Because college football has become a sport that is certainly not a democracy, that is certainly not a socialist construct. It is truly an autocracy based on who has the most money. It's capitalism run amok with no bumpers, no stop signs, no way to curb it. And the SEC has the most money. The Big Ten has the most money because they have the most lucrative TV deals, so they call all the shots. And all you've been hearing with this discourse is, oh, is it going to be 5 plus 11? Is it going to be 4, 4, 2, 2? Is it going to be 4 plus 12? Is it going to be 2 plus 2 equals 4? Is it going to be pi 3.1? Who cares? Who cares? Me and my life as an ESPN radio host, I will stoop to those lows to discuss because I like getting paid. I appreciate paychecks and my well-being, but I hate the discourse and I hate the discussion because from an FAU standpoint, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference what the college football playoff format's going to be, because in all likelihood, other than one team in the group of 6 level, one team, nobody else, including FAU, is going to get a sniff at competing for a national championship in college football. Oh, well, Ken, they have the one automatic qualifier as a baked-in part of any college football playoff format. One automatic qualifier from the top-ranked group of 6 team. That's great, right? Do you know how many group of 6 teams there are? We've got 14 teams in the American. We've got 900 teams in the Sun Belt. You've got 12 teams in Conference USA. You've got the brand new Pac-12 that counts as the group of 6. You've got the MAC. Thanks for the one slot. Appreciate it. College football and the power brokers of college football, a.k.a. the SEC and the Big Ten, and then by extension the ACC and the Big 12, they don't care about group of 6 college football, period. Exclamation point. And any media member who covers college football that tries to tell you, oh yeah, no, we respect every level of college football. Group of 6, that's what makes college football great. The underdogs, the smaller teams, the potential Cinderellas, they don't actually care about the group of 6. They like the prospect of the romantic storytelling that comes with an FAU rising to prominence, or say a Kent State coming out of nowhere and flirting with an undefeated season. But here's the fact of the matter, especially a MAC school. They have an undefeated season. That's not going to be enough for them to get into the college football playoff. The American and maybe Conference USA, in my mind, and potentially now the new Pac-12, are going to be the only teams of the group of 6 that are able to, with an undefeated season, you've got to be flawless, perfect in your campaign to even get consideration to get yourself into the college football playoff. And I'm also skipping the Mountain West. That's where Boise State came from last year, though they're headed for the Pac-12, it appears. But those who claim they care about the well-being of college football, the big-time journalists, they don't care. They don't care because they'll never go to bat. Outside of the one automatic group of 6 qualifier, they will never go to bat for any other lower tier Division I college football side, lower tier FBS college football side. They won't, because the access to the SEC and to the Big Ten, and to a lesser extent the ACC and the Big 12, is more important to them than stepping to the plate for an FAU on a regular basis. I become very cynical about college football in the year of our Lord 2025. And I hate it because I love college football. And I love a group of formerly 5, now 6 college football. But if you think about it, FBS level college football is now the only organized quote unquote league, whether you're talking pro or amateur college, in all of North American sports. There is only one singular entity where not every team has a legitimate chance of competing for the ultimate prize, a championship at the end of the year, and that's FBS college football. Because of 50 to 60 teams in one portion of the top level of college football in this country, only one actually has a chance to get in to the college football playoff and compete for a national championship, get into that bracket. And fortunately, Brian White was proactive enough to get FAU into a conference that is legitimately in the discussion to produce one of those 1 out of 60 qualifiers each year, the AAC. But if you are in the Sun Belt, or if you are a MAC school, you can go undefeated. You ain't going to the college football playoff. It is the only entity, FBS college football, where not every team at the beginning of the year has at least remote chance of competing for a national championship. Half of the Power 6 or Group of 6 is eliminated before the season even starts. You're just playing games to go to Albuquerque to play a bowl game at the end of the year. In college basketball, yeah, there's 300-something teams, but you win your conference tournament at the very least, which is very realistic. Just get hot at the right time. You at least get into the field of 68, right? And who knows after that? You could be the lowest rung. You could be Mississippi Valley State, who was the worst team in the country last year. You make a run to get into the field of 68. You're at least in that final round of competing for a championship. College football can't claim that. Half the Group of 6 is eliminated, not even going to be considered before the season starts, even if they win their conference championship game. And so, me as an FAU guy, me as someone who's passionate about Group of 6 college football, I urge the commissioners of the Group of 6 conferences and the athletic directors of the Group of 6 programs and the university presidents to seriously consider organizing their own postseason. Like Tim Pernetti, the American, I know he at least floated it, and he got the usual pushback from the elitist, privileged, and in large parts delusional fan bases at places like Memphis and USF and Tulane, who are desperately trying to play power conference football. And Tim Pernetti says, well, maybe the group of 6, they compete for their own postseason accolades. Oh, no, Mickey Mouse Conference. What a terrible idea. Oh, that's so beneath us. Memphis, USF, Tulane, you're not better than any one of us. You're not better than FAU. You're in the same conference. No one's moving anytime soon. So it's time to band together, or you keep playing every single year for the opportunity to go to Shreveport as your reward at the end of the season. Okay? And I'm not trying to diminish bowl games. God knows at FAU, we'll take what we can get. It's been a while since FAU has played a postseason football game. I'll take 6 wins. I'll head to the Cure Bowl in Orlando, take a trophy, and I'll say that was a hell of a season. But it can be so much more than that. And I understand that ESPN, and again, thanks for the paychecks, they have a lot of money tied in to putting on a cornucopia of bowl games. But I want FAU to have an opportunity at the end of the year. Say they have a great season. Maybe they run the table. And you would hope if FAU ran the table, they'd be in the discussion to be in the college football playoff coming out of the American. But say it's a 1-loss, 2-loss, 3-loss season. I'd like FAU to have a chance to actually play in a tournament, play for a trophy, a national championship, a come out on the other side of a very competitive 8 to 16 team bracket and put a trophy in the air and make people proud. I'd like that opportunity. I think that's more meaningful. This is my opinion. I think that's more meaningful than going to Frisco, Texas before Christmas and playing New Mexico State in a one-off exhibition where these days, because of the transfer portal, half your roster is already decided that they're headed into the portal, or they've decided not to play to preserve their bodies. We've got to make this thing more meaningful for the entirety of college football. And if the powers that be in college football, the SEC and the Big Ten, are going to completely turn their backs on any meaningful inclusion of the group of 6, even with this playoff format expanding to 16 teams in all likelihood next year, then group of 6, those who make the decisions at this level, needed to take it upon themselves to do something for the benefit of those who are being left behind, left in the dark. Because this is not sustainable. Not only for the health of FBS college football, but for consistent support from fans of college football at the group of 6 level. And again, this is all my opinion. And at FAU, Brian White and Mike Raffine and Alvin Hines and all of the great people at Florida Atlantic, Rob Rosselli in marketing, they have put in so much work to try and make FAU football fans, supporters feel valued, feel validated, to keep coming back year after year after year after year. I just think that it's easier for us FAU fans to rally around making a run in the postseason and being included in a meaningful postseason than it is to head to 30-degree temperatures in Annapolis for a bowl game on December 29th against, I don't know, Boston College. I just think that we need an 8-16 team, group of 6, standalone national championship. You'll have your FBS top end. They'll play for their national championship. The one automatic qualifier from the group of 6 will get in. Great for them. Congratulations. You've earned it. Boise State or Memphis or, hell, if it's FAU, outstanding. But outside of that, then 8-16, group of 6 teams, including conference champions, who get rewarded for winning a conference championship outside of the best already preordained location that a conference sends conference champions every single year, which is how FAU played 2 Boca Raton Bowls in 3 seasons, because in Conference USA, the Boca Raton Bowl was the top destination, so FAU stayed home for those 2 bowl games, 2017, 2019. Let's put together a bracket. Let's put together a group of 6 playoff. So you have top end, power conference, FBS, national championship. You have a Division II, you have an FCS national championship. By the way, those are electric. Division II, Division III, and fine, group of 6 FBS national championship. You can't tell me that a TV network or a couple of networks aren't going to want to get in on that and televise it. I mean, I watch 4th Division Hungarian soccer on Tubi. ESPN Plus is carrying Ethiopian darts on a regular basis. You can't tell me that the ESPN family of networks and TNT or Fox, they don't want to get involved in a brand new 8-16 team group of 6 college football national championship. The discourse about the college football playoff format drives me insane, because it automatically means that half the sport is being left in the dark, and there's 2 conferences. They're going to end up making all the decisions, and they're probably going to end up ramrodding the most automatic bids from their conferences into this format as it is. And it's because they have the most money, and that's the SEC and the Big Ten. So I would urge FAU fans, just consider it. Let me know what you think. Tweet at me at KLV Says. At KLV Says. Let me know what you think about my proposal for an 8-16 team group of 6 college football national championship tournament. I think it could be something. And I think it would make the postseason more meaningful than a one-off bowl game. And I'm not trying to diminish when FAU does go to a bowl game in 2025. I don't want people saying, oh, well, this isn't the Ken LaVicka proposal. I'm giving myself way too much credit here. Nobody's going to think that. But this is just one of those crappy one-off bowl games Ken LaVicka was talking about. No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that there needs to be some foresight here now to save the bottom, for lack of a better descriptor, bottom conferences of FBS, the group of 6 conferences, the ones with the not as much financially driven power as what we see in the power leagues, and especially in the Big Ten and the SEC. I think that's the path forward. And then there's a Howard Schnellenberger discussion that needs to be had. And it's in regards to the College Football Hall of Fame. And if you missed it, several weeks ago, the National Football Foundation, that's the organization that runs, for all intents and purposes, the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. The National Football Foundation is in charge of the nominees and then those who are inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. And I have said for years and years and years and years and years and years, and many of you listening to this right now will have remembered this because I've said it on FAU football broadcasts. I've said it on FAU coaches shows. I've said it at FAU live events, and I've even said it in the just over 1 year that this podcast has existed. And I've said it on social media so many times. But the College Football Hall of Fame is invalidated. It is irrelevant without Howard Schnellenberger enshrined into the institution. It doesn't matter. It means nothing without Howard Schnellenberger included. Now, alas, the National Football Foundation has made a change to allow a rightful future inductee to take his rightful place in the College Football Hall of Fame. They have come off of a long-standing requirement, a decision that was desperately needed so that someone who is a no-brainer as a College Football Hall of Famer can be admitted posthumous entry. But it's not Howard Schnellenberger. Instead, it's Mike Leach. So the National Football Foundation has always mandated that a head coach that gets into the College Football Hall of Fame needed a 600 winning percentage. A 600 winning percentage as a college football head coach to be nominated and eventually inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. The NFF has revised that to a 595 winning percentage because Mike Leach, may he rest in peace, ended his career after his passing while still the boss at Mississippi State with a 596 winning percentage after his 10 years at Texas Tech, Washington State, and then ultimately Mississippi State. So Mike Leach, with the new 595 requirement, with his 596 winning percentage, can now be enshrined into the College Football Hall of Fame. This is not me disparaging Mike Leach. This is a very necessary move because Mike Leach is a very necessary figure that needs to be honored and enshrined for all time in the College Football Hall of Fame, a true trailblazer in the sport as a whole. Mike Leach, he needs to be in there. He changed the sport, certainly offensively, and with his personality and what he meant to so many people, how unique he was, he has to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. But then that brings me to Howard Schnellenberger. Because, great, Mike Leach is getting in. What about a guy who's just as and more deserving than Mike Leach? And again, I'm not trying to put one on a pedestal and definitely not posthumously trying to throw shade and disrespect at somebody. And by the way, Mike Leach was in the discussion to replace Howard Schnellenberger as head football coach at Florida Atlantic, was a viable, strong candidate as Craig Angelos was looking for the replacement for the then retiring Howard Schnellenberger. It ultimately went to Carl Pelini, but Mike Leach was very, 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 very interested in that job. And Craig Angelos, AD at the time, did talk to him about the position. He was, I think it's pretty appropriate to say, a finalist for that job in 2011. But if Mike Leach is getting in, why the hell is Howard Schnellenberger not getting in? Because, yeah, Mike Leach, air raid, massive numbers, wild personality, the pirate. Mike Leach changed how college football looks. Howard Schnellenberger he changed the trajectory of multiple college football programs. He not just changed how college football looked, he altered the landscape of college football. He turned it on its axis, did Howard Schnellenberger. From the tippy-top peak of the sport to consummating and birthing a program. Mike Leach didn't do that. And that's why the winning percentage requirement, get rid of it. It sucks. It's pointless. And it does the sport, it does the College Football Hall of Fame, and it does college football fans a disservice because it eliminates Howard Schnellenberger specifically from being in the College Football Hall of Fame. If Mike Leach is in the College Football Hall of Fame, then damn it, Howard Schnellenberger needs to be in the College Football Hall of Fame post haste. So Howard Schnellenberger, his winning percentage, career winning percentage, Miami, Louisville, Oklahoma, FAU, 511. That's if you don't count the 3 ties throughout the course of his career. It's a 506 winning percentage if you factor in the 3 ties. 158, 151, and 3. You mean to tell me that the National Football Foundation and the College Football Hall of Fame, they're perfectly okay with Howard Schnellenberger not being in the College Football Hall of Fame because he hasn't achieved a 595 winning percentage? Want to know why he didn't achieve a 595 winning percentage? Because he's the only one who repeatedly had the guts to take on reclamation projects in college football. Howard Schnellenberger didn't have to leave the shadow of Don Shula and the Super Bowl champion Miami Dolphins as the offensive coordinator to take over in Coral Gables at a Miami football program that had one foot in the grave, that was on the verge of being shuttered. Howard Schnellenberger didn't have to do that, but he did it because he loved to coach football and he believed in himself, and he was as ambitious as anyone who has ever taken the reins of a college football program ever. And what did he do? A flatlining Miami football program that had no success, no future, no identity. He gave it an identity. He created a recruiting plan, and he created a juggernaut, and he won a national championship. So for all of the, Jimmy Johnson, Dennis Erickson, Larry Coker, the U, 5-time national champions, the only reason that the U became the U is because of Howard Schnellenberger. Nobody else can claim that. Nobody. That alone should put Howard Schnellenberger in the College Football Hall of Fame, what he did at Miami. Again, that thing was 4 feet under, 2 more feet to go and it's dead. They were talking about eliminating that program. Howard Schnellenberger took it on, national championship, 1983. So Howard makes the poor decision to go to the USFL. But then he goes to Louisville. Same situation. Louisville was nothing. Dying. What does he do? Completely rebuilds it. Took on another reclamation project that nobody else wanted. Before you know it, Fiesta Bowl win over Alabama. I mean, come on. That, again, on its own, should be Hall of Fame. What he did at Louisville should make him a Hall of Famer. What he did individually at Miami should make him a Hall of Famer. Those two things together, Howard Schnellenberger should have been in the Hall of Fame by 1994. Howard spends the 1 year at Oklahoma, doesn't work out, leaves, goes into the private sector. Could have rested on those laurels and done speaking tours, written several books, maybe gone to be an offensive coordinator at a major college football program. But instead, what does he do? He gets the call, hey, we're going to start a college football program at a small commuter school in South Florida named Florida Atlantic. Coach, could you help us get it off the ground? Well, yes, I can. So he makes that decision and then names himself the head coach. Again, he didn't have to do any of this. And then what does he do? He spends a year working out in a gymnasium at FAU with his student athletes in socks as he tries to build the infrastructure of a program. Finally gets football going in 2001. By 2004, he's winning at Hawaii and Timmy Chang in overtime. In 2003, he's going to a 1AA semifinal. And then in 2007, he's the youngest program to win a bowl game in the history of the sport. And he gets a stadium built, the first legitimate college football stadium in South Florida, because that thing at FIU came first, but that's not a legitimate stadium. Things are a cookie-cutter piece of nonsense. Did something Miami will never be able to do, and that's get an on-campus stadium built. He literally birthed a program. There is not one single coach in the College Football Hall of Fame who coached prior to 1930 that has on their resume started a college football program from scratch. Howard Schnellenberger not only did it, he won with it in the modern era of college football. He created draft picks, NFL players from nothing in Boca Raton. But because he has the most robust, risk-taking, miraculous resume of anybody who's ever coached in college football, he's not eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame because of that absolutely brain-dead winning percentage requirement. And it drives me insane. It is wildly disrespectful to Howard Schnellenberger, his family, to Beverly, and to the sport as a whole, to not only have Howard Schnellenberger left on the outside looking into the College Football Hall of Fame, but the National Football Foundation, I've reached out to them multiple times, completely ignoring the Howard Schnellenberger problem. I have reached out to the National Football Foundation over the last decade 6 different times to inquire about Howard Schnellenberger or to try to speak to somebody on the record, whether it be on my previous radio show at the old radio station I used to work at, whether it be for a television entity, or whether it be for my own content purposes. I have reached out 7 times over the last decade, and I have not one response from the National Football Foundation about Howard Schnellenberger and why, with the most unique resume in the entire history of college football, how he is not even considered for the College Football Hall of Fame, and how the National Football Foundation, how come they never, ever, ever even weigh it? What are they doing? That's not okay. And so I was happy for those who know and love Mike Leach and were influenced by Mike Leach and touched by Mike Leach upon the news. I was happy for these people upon the news that he is going to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, assuredly with this adjustment to the winning percentage requirement. but I am dismayed and disheartened and continually frustrated by the proverbial spitting in the face of Howard Schnellenberger's memory and his legacy that the College Football Hall of Fame and the National Football Foundation continues to perform this proverbial face spitting by acting as if they couldn't be bothered. They do not ever discuss what we'll call the Howard Schnellenberger problem, because it is a massive problem that he's not in the College Football Hall of Fame and that they seem to not care. And I don't understand why there is not more grassroots momentum, not only at FAU, and I'm not trying to wag my finger and say, oh, I'm disappointed. There are several FAU fans that I've talked to on a consistent basis that have tried to get some momentum, the ball rolling behind a Howard Schnellenberger campaign, and it's difficult. Because FAU just doesn't have that type of traction right now. And maybe that's a project that the school, the athletics department should take on at some point. But how come at Miami? How come Miami, who they sit all the time and they if you talk to Miami fans, oh, the pipe, Schnellenberger started it all. They've got his name on their ring of honor. But most of the time out of Coral Gables, it's just crickets. Yeah, great, Howard Schnellenberger. We love him, and it's great to bring him up because it brings on so much nostalgia for college football fans and for Miami fans. Yeah, Coach Schnellenberger, state of Miami. They don't do any of the legwork to try and rectify this. Sometimes I feel like a one-man freaking band, and it sucks. So again, National Football Foundation, College Football Hall of Fame, you don't matter. You don't matter. You're completely invalidated. You're irrelevant until you finally address the Howard Schnellenberger problem. And I refuse to set foot in that venue in Atlanta and give it any sort of attention or any of my money until I get an answer as to why Howard Schnellenberger, with far and away the most unique resume, national champion, 3-time program rebuilder, including one of those, a program birther. He planted the seed. It's just so disrespectful. And it makes no sense. As Coach Schnellenberger said, he consummated FAU football. And he's the reason why we enjoy what we enjoy now and feel so passionately about what we feel passionate about now. And I do think it's time to start rallying the troops a little bit. And if Miami's not going to do it, if Louisville's not going to do it, they're just going to pay lip service to Howard Schnellenberger, then maybe it's time for us to take the reins at FAU, this small little FAU, and finally do what's right and start applying some pressure to this godforsaken, incompetent National Football Foundation. All right. I've had that stuff bubbling, pent up for quite some time. So I'm glad to get that off my chest. And if you couldn't make it through the entire thing because it was just too much ranting, I understand. I apologize for that. But I feel very possessive of Florida Atlantic, and I hate being left on the outside of a chance to win a championship because of an association with a quote-unquote smaller school, a group of 6 school. I want to play for something. I want FAU to play for something. I want fans to feel the enjoyment of playing for something. Pride, support, loyalty. Not just a trip to Shreveport. And I also, damn it, I will continue every year of my being fighting for Howard Schnellenberger to get into the College Football Hall of Fame. If there's one thing I do in the rest of my professional life, I've been laid off from a long-time job in sports media. I have I've flirted with going national, but sort of stayed on the fringes. I've done pretty much everything there is to do, from writing to TV to radio in my profession. I've done it all. But one thing remains unfinished, and that is getting some sort of push to get done what rightfully needs to be accomplished, and that's get Howard Schnellenberger in the College Football Hall of Fame. And I'll keep reaching out to the National Football Foundation. I'm sure I'll continue being ghosted, but at some point, there's going to be contact made. And at some point, there's going to be a serious discussion that's going to be had. Reach out to me on social media, on Twitter, at KLV Says, on Instagram, at Ken LaVicka. Subscribe to the Florida Atlantic Voice. It's wherever you get your podcast. It's just easier. Hit the subscribe button. It shows up right to your phone, your tablet, your device, whenever a new episode drops. And want to thank all of the great folks at Arobes Law Group, the title sponsor. Speaking of loyalty, love them. Title sponsor, partner, more appropriately, of the Florida Atlantic Voice. ROBES, robeslawgroup.com, personal injury lawyers, and the presenting partner of the Florida Atlantic Voice. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time. I'm Ken LaVicka. This has been the Florida Atlantic Voice. Bye-bye.